The Gray, starring Liam Neeson. Uh, the Liam Neeson versus Wolves movie is how I kind of knew it. Um, and I guess you could kind of reduce it to it being Liam Neeson versus Wolves. But I think there's a lot more going on than that. I went in just expecting kind of like a dumb action movie starring Liam Neeson, because that's kind of been his forte the last couple of years. After what the fuck was that really good one, Taken, and then he did this shitty one last year. The Gray though, it's a whole different ball game, and it's a really great film. Um, so Liam Neeson plays this guy. He works for an oil company, and his job is to protect an oil rig from wolves. I guess to protect the workers, because I don't know what the fuck the wolves would do to the actual oil rig. Um, and there's a little part at the beginning where he kind of describes what he does, and you find out he's suicidal. And right as he's about to kill himself, actually, he writes a suicide note basically to his wife, and he's about to kill himself. He hears a wolf howl, and then he doesn't kill himself. And I don't get. Well, maybe I do get it, but he decides not to kill himself. And so next thing you know, he's on a plane home. Oh, and by the way, his wife left him, and that's another reason he's sad. Um, but he's on his way home for I don't know break or I have no idea. But he's with a bunch of guys. That part is poorly explained. That's probably one of the few faults I'll give the movie. Maybe it was explained, I missed it. But basically, he hops on a flight with a bunch of guys. Maybe they're going somewhere else, working on a different rig or something. And it's off in the wilderness. I think it's like in Alaska or I don't know where exactly. None of this is important. They get into a plane crash, and him and a group of guys, I don't know, 10 guys survive. And but they crash in the middle of nowhere in the snow, where like all there is around is snow and wolves, and the wolves aren't happy. And it's a great survival film about these guys in the wilderness trying to find somewhere safe, trying to stay alive, and not get eaten by wolves. It has elements of horror in there, almost like a slasher flick where these guys are getting picked off one by one by these wolves. And I don't know how realistic it is. I don't care. It's the same thing with Frozen, where people told me there's all this like unrealistic shit in it, and that's another movie about people getting hunted by wolves. Essentially, I don't care. I don't know anything about it. I don't go into wilderness that much, and it didn't matter to me. It was it's a very thrilling survival film that's very well done. And well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with it, but yeah, there's elements of horror in it, and elements of like an action flick or like a guy flick. And this is a pretty hardcore guy movie, but there's something else going on. It's not just action or not just survival. The film has a bit of depth to it. It has a little bit more to say than just look at Liam Neeson be a tough guy. It's a film about a large part of it is about death, and it's a meditation on death, and those parts are very powerful. Um, and your will to survive, and who would survive and who wouldn't in this type of situation, and what do you need in you, and you know a big part of it is based essentially there's this poem in it, and essentially it's kind of like Shawshank Redemption, that saying, what do they say in it? Get busy living or get busy dying. That's basically what the poem says in this. I forgot what it was. It's like, once more into the fray, I'm gonna go into this battle and to live or die on this day, something like that. And I won't give away where the poem comes from or whatever, but I don't know. There's just more going on in this than just, oh, these guys have to fight off these wolves. This is a, like I said, it has deeper things going on. It's pretty emotional and powerful, and you wouldn't think it at first because there's so many characters, like 10 guys at first, but it dwindles. Not to give away anything too much, but you really start to feel like you get to know a few of these guys. Like you start to get to know Liam Neeson. You start to get to know this other guy who's kind of a drunk and a loudmouth. And at first, you just thought he was going to be like this caricature, and he probably has some of the most powerful moments in the film. Oh, and I remember another thing I wanted to say about it. This movie played off all of my worst fears in a really bad way. Now, getting eaten by wolves isn't one of them. I know I would be scared shitless if it was happening to me, obviously, and I would be dead shortly thereafter. But pretty much, I have like three big fears. Fear of death, number one, and this whole movie is about kind of death and fear of death and accepting death and what do you think happens after death and blah blah blah. That's a big part of it. Um, the fear of heights. I have a big fear of heights, and there's a scene in this movie that really, out of all of the stuff in this movie that plays off my fears, this one it does the most. Like I just, I couldn't take it watching it. Really well done scene. And of course, I'm very afraid of planes and plane crashes. I've only been on like one flight, or I guess two flights if you want to count the way back, in the last like decade. Pretty much since Final Destination, and then shortly after that, 9/11. I don't like to fly. I'm scared of it. And there's a plane crash in this. The plane crash in this is not as crazy as say Final Destination, but it always scares me. Like just watching a scene on a plane where there's turbulence, like it gets me a little queasy. So this was a very scary movie for me. It scared me more than most actual horror movies, um, and just really well done. Like I said, the scene that plays off your fear of heights is, I thought, really well done. Lots of it is just really well shot and just beautifully shot, and like it's like the scene where they, you know, go after your fear of heights. It like hits you in the gut. It's so well done. It's one of those movies that I don't even think it was in IMAX, but I wish I could go see it in IMAX or even 3D or something. I wish I could go back, or even just in the theater to experience that on the big screen. I wish I could go back. Um, it's directed by Joe Carnahan, who he's done not much besides this, and nothing on this level, like this dramatic level. The A Team, Smoking Aces, those are like his last two big movies. Oh, he did Narc also, which I remember seeing Narc. I think Ray Liotta was in that. I remember liking Narc, but it didn't have the lasting impact that The Gray is gonna have on me. I'm gonna remember The Gray. I'm probably gonna buy it on Blu-ray. It's just a beautiful, great, exciting, thrilling survival film. Um, and Joe Carnahan, what he's doing here is a hell of a lot better than I know people. There's fans of Smoking Aces, but I don't know. I think it's a step above even Narc, which I liked. Um, and there's stuff in here that there's shots that hold longer. Like the shots last longer than a lot of modern films do, where it almost feels like a '70s survival flick sometimes. Like I feel like I'm watching something like, I don't know, Deliverance or something. Like I don't know if they did this in Deliverance. It has it feel like an older movie where some shots or some scenes are kind of done in one take with no cuts, and all the camera does is slowly zoom in on the scene or slowly zoom out to like show everything around them, the beautiful scenery around them, while these guys are giving like these amazing speeches about life or their lives and or how they want to give up, or you know, I remember one scene where this guy's just like, for all we know, there's a cabin right down the river, just right around the bend. Like we just have to keep going. Like and they're giving these speeches, and the camera's just slowly like zooming out, showing like the wilderness that they're in. Really beautifully done. Um, what else did I want to mention about this? Oh, one other thing that I remember there's a bit of controversy about. was the ending, which I'm not going to spoil, but I remember Rambo Raff going off on the ending, and he hasn't seen it yet, so that's him not being fair, in my opinion. But I get where he's coming from. He doesn't like the ambiguous ending usually. He's just kind of sick of it. Um, but even if you look at the Wikipedia for The Grey, it says that there were people that gave it negative reviews or people that were upset because it has an abrupt ending, is what Wikipedia said. And I've seen ambiguous and abrupt endings, and this is not one of them, in my opinion. Maybe because I saw it coming, because I heard this beforehand, but I felt like, one, it wasn't abrupt. The film's 2 hours, and by the time the movie ended, I felt I had seen everything that I needed to see. And although it does kind of just cut out in the middle of something, I think it said everything. I felt like it said everything it had to say at that point. And I also feel like you have a pretty good fucking idea of what's going to happen next. So I don't feel like I was missing out on anything. I feel like I had gone through the entire emotional experience of the story, and I felt like I knew what was going to happen, and it didn't need anything more at the end. It really didn't. If anything, I thought the ending was the strength of the film. And then again, I'm one of those people that will defend the ending of The Sopranos, so what do you know? But honestly, on this one, I just didn't see it. Maybe if you're just expecting this typical action movie or something, but this movie is something more. And its dramatic arc and its story was told right where it ended. It was told. Everything that needed to be told was told. So don't let that hold you back. I mean, I'd like to hear people's thoughts, like if they thought that the ending was bad or not. But honestly, I thought the ending was great. I thought the whole movie was really great. Um, it's weird. I've seen a couple of movies now in a row where I'm like, this is the best film I've seen this year, and now I kind of have to start ranking them or questioning if I'm just liking the newest one most. But honestly, for me, The Grey is the best film I've seen this year, followed closely by Chronicle, and trailing a little bit behind is God Bless America, which I still thought was really well done. But The Grey is just a really great kind of old fashioned, thrilling survival film, and I think you should see it. I think pretty much anyone should see it. I don't think most people will be turned off by the ending. I think most people will feel like they got a satisfying story. Um, kind of a guy movie and kind of a just a thriller, but with a little bit of meat on it. It has a little bit of depth. Um, no pun intended on the meat thing, but yeah. Anyways, obviously 5 out of 5 stars. I think you need to see The Grey. I think it's available to rent on demand and shit now, so definitely check it out. You will. I think. I think you will not be disappointed. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you watched it all, and share your thoughts on the film. Talk to you later, guys.